Pasado na sa ikalawang pagbasa ang panukalang sumailalim sa mandatory ROTC training ang mga senior high school students.
Good day and welcome to Pros and Cons, where we ask the hard questions and you decide which side of the truth you would choose to believe.
ROTC has become a thing of the past for high school students until recently. The government hopes to instill anew in the youth a sense of patriotism, love of country, and discipline through military training. Critics, however, say ROTC is only an excuse for militarization of schools aimed at the removal of dissenters and the oppression of the people. Today, in Pros and Cons, we raise the question, how will the youth benefit from ROTC? Can ROTC teach students to become strong and patriotic citizens? Is it the right time to reintroduce ROTC?
I'm Joel C. Egco, your moderator for the day. Most of us from the older generation have experienced military training through ROTC in college, and it was admittedly difficult. Now there are plans to add ROTC into the senior high school curriculum. But will the students of today find that acceptable? So to answer those questions, we have tonight, with us here in the studio, Brigadier General Rolando Rodil. He is the Commanding General po ba ang tawag?
Commander po.
The Commander of the AFP Reserve Command. Ito po, to answer yan. And ROTC will be under your command po, no? It is.
It will be under the AFP as a whole.
AFP as a whole.
The AFP as a whole.
All right. Also, we're very lucky to have with us today. Ito, returning, comebacking guest natin ito. Suki natin itong idol ng mga kabataan natin. And I'm talking about Chairman Ronald Gian Cardema. Siya po ang Chairman ng National Youth Commission. And very timely yung pag-attend po dito ni Ronald because recently meron siyang isang controversial call for our youth, no? Meron po tayong bisita si Dan Eris Estrella. He is the chairperson of the Student Council of Rizal Technological University in Pasig, RTU.
Yes, Pasig campus.
Oh, ang laki nito. Diba? So itong RTU, ilan ang student population dito? I think this is one of the biggest schools, no? May nag-ROTC ka ba or
Under NSTP kasi po, ang tiniko is si Watts.
Sir, yung before we pause for a break, no, I'd like to ask from you. Kumusta yung move ngayon to yun nga, ibalik yung ROTC? I'm sure kayo po ang isa sa kinukuhanan dyan ng expertise, expert opinion, no, and inputs.
Yes, ever since the President has pronounced in his State of the Nation address that he wants to strengthen the ROTC program to instill love of country and good citizenship in the young people of today, a lot of things have already transpired from the time that the bill was proposed in Congress, particularly the bill restoring or institutionalizing mandatory ROTC in grades 11 and 12 this time. Okay.
Ito na yung senior high school.
This is senior high school, and recently I learned that it's already past second reading in Congress.
Hukay natin lahat, no, yung mga issues and concerns. That's why nandito ang isang representative ng youth natin, ano, about the ROTC bill. So thank you. And when we return, we'll talk about the return of ROTC. Stay with us.
Ang Belgian government ang isa sa mga nagbibigay ng malaking ayuda sa iba't ibang non-governmental organizations na tumutulong sa iba't ibang advokasya sa Pilipinas. Nandito ang Philippine delegation para ipaalam sa gobyerno ng Belgium na malaking porsyento ng kanilang ayuda na pupunta sa mga organisasyon o front ng communist terrorist group.
international solidarity is a human rights framework, which I know EU and Belgium closely adhere to. And it's something which we would like to own ourselves. But it is a framework which is now being used by terrorists to get funding. They anchor their campaign for funds under a call for international solidarity. And I think EU and Belgium in particular are being taken advantage of. We do not want that to happen.
Ito yung pinaliwanag natin sa Belgian government at medyo nabahala sila kasi malaki din yung suporta na binibigay nila dito sa mga organisasyon na ito. And dahil dun sa ating engagement with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, naipaliwanag natin sa kanila na kinakailan reviewin nila yung proseso sa pag-accredit or sa pagbigay ng suporta dito sa mga civil society organizations na humingi sa kanila ng tulong para sa magagandang advocacy sana.
Okay, we're back on pros and cons. Let's begin today's discussion. You have a question?
So my question for General is, due to the RA 9163, nagkaroon po tayo ng NSTP.
Yeah.
So is it not enough for the students para makapag-develop or makapag-show ng patriotism and nationalism para sa ating bansa?
To the NSTP.
Through the NSTP. You must remember that NSTP has three components.
Yes.
Okay? The ROTC, the Civic Welfare Training Service, and the Literacy Training Service. Those are three components that are optional to the student to take. Okay? Our view is that when the ROTC was sort of became optional, almost abolished at that time, our view is that government sort of abdicated its only opportunity to have a real handle on the young people of today. It became an avenue where you are able to inculcate perseverance, okay, inculcate discipline, you learn the values of teamwork.
How can we be so sure, how can we guarantee that there will be no corruption or that the students will not be violated?
Meaning what kind of violations? Are you...
Abuse. Authority abuse.
in a hazing? Binubugbog?
Yes.
Let's be specific about it. So, yun yung concern niya.
The President, when I was there in the cabinet meeting when he approved the bill, okay, approved the DNDAP version of the bill, instituting it in grades 11 and 12, he issued three major guidelines in the conduct of the ROTC. Number one, there should be no abuse, hazing, and corruption.
All right.
He was very emphatic about that. Okay. Secondly, he wanted that those who would be the trainers, the handlers of the ROTC program, should be of high moral. They have good character, okay, of righteous character, okay. And thirdly, he wanted, because now it's going to be mandatory for both males and females. It will be those who will be commanding the females will be female officers, and the males, of course, the male officers.
All right. Let's go first to let's ask Chairman Ronald here. No, you've been very vocal, of course, no, in favor of reviving or bringing back the ROTC program in college or senior high school, for that matter. Why? Ano yung nakita mo na nung humina or nawala, almost, sabi nga ni General, halos nawala yung ROTC naging optional. What happened after that? That made you realize, no, let's bring back ROTC.
First of all, sir, I think there are no pro and cons here. We are here to enlighten
That's right.
everybody about this issue. And second, as chairman of the National Youth Commission, I have visited my counterparts in Singapore, in other countries, in Beijing, in South Korea. And, military training is part of their lives in South Korea and in Singapore. These are very strong neighbors of ours, and they do this because they can easily mobilize their population in times of calamities, in times of war, and they believe that this is essential for the strengthening of their countries. Here in the Philippines, we had the ROTC, and for more than 100 years, there were some problems. For example, before there was issues of hazing, corruption, and I think there's somebody who died in UST.
Yeah,
But,
that was Mark Wilson Chua,
Yeah.
because the father of the victim was my friend, si Wilson Chua, but he passed away.
So we want a new ROTC. We want a reformed ROTC.
Yes.
That's why with our president right now, he's trying to change everything in government. He's trying to return ROTC, but a better ROTC.
Meaning better in what terms? Meaning how is it going to impact on the youth now, especially sa student sector now? Is it going to, alam mo, inspire or stir up patriotism, something like that? And how are we going to do that?
The president wants it like that. But first of all, he wants it to be corruption-free. He wants it hazing-free. And, there are no assurances in anything. For example, in government, for example, in the business community, there's no, for example,
Kumbaga, no perfect formula eh. Pero,
during the time when cars were available, there was no assurance that if we buy cars, are there no accidents? We cannot assure everything.
Yeah.
There will always be mistakes and accidents.
Kahit
But,
naka-seatbelt ka, di ba? Parang ganun eh. Seatbelts are made just to protect you, pero sometimes hindi rin epekto. Di ba?
But everybody wants it to be, it to try to make it perfect, wants to try it to become a better version of the old version.
Yeah.
And we think that our country needs it because, our biggest resource is human resource. We have 107 million population. And if there's no training for our youthful citizens.
And do you agree, both of you gentlemen, that yung success niyan, it relies heavily on the leadership? If we have this kind of very good commander-in-chief right now, no, in the person of President Duterte, parang, di ba, mas toe the line. I mean, yung disiplina, tingin ko rin, hindi magiging problema yung corruption. Ngayon, alam mo naman si Presidente, no? So, do you agree to that?
Definitely, no. Historically, nations rise and fall because of their leaders. Okay? Always, the leaders are the key element. That's why in the military, we have what we call as a capability framework, where doctrine, organization, training, personnel, material, and facilities are all part of what an armed forces is capable of doing. But above all, part of that capability is one intangible, and that is leadership.
Yes.
So in this case, for our ROTC program, it's very important that the kind of leaders that we put into this program are what the President says, they are impeccable character, as much as possible. They have the right values, okay? They have the vision to do what should be done for the program, because ever since, the ROTC program has been really a very, very good program. Okay? I can attest to that. I'm an ROTC graduate. Ronald's an ROTC graduate. And I always credit what I am today because of the program.
Yeah, yung pinagdaanan, that's what honed you, no? Sir, before we pause for a break, I'd like to ask you, anong grade ka na ba?
Third year college po.
Third year college. So, hindi ka na... Hindi siya dadaan sa ROTC? Exempted na siya ba yan?
Hindi, tapos na siya ng NSTP.
NSTP. Yeah, okay, that's
He has
good.
already finished
So,
NSTP.
my question is, before we pause for a break, ano yung sinasabi ng mga kasama mo? Tatakot ba sila dyan sa ROTC program na yan? But before you answer that, no? Later, we'll hear what our netizens are saying about today's discussion muna. Sagutin mo yan mamaya. Don't go away.
universal health care law that I signed today will guarantee equitable access to quality and affordable healthcare services for all Filipinos.
You're still watching Pros and Cons, and today's topic is about the Reserve Officer Training Course.
Core.
Tama po ba yan?
Core.
So that's core, not course. Okay. Let's look at the comments in social media muna before we go back to you. No, meron tayong hanging question. Okay. Before we started the program, meron po tayong poll question posted on our website. Ang tanong ay, makatutulong ba ang pagbabalik ng ROTC sa ating mga eskwelahan upang buhayin ang pagkamakabayan o patriotismo ng kabataan? 90% they say yes, at 10% ang sinasabing hindi. But let me read a couple of comments from our followers. Kay Sharon Rose Flores, sabi niya, kung ang mismong pinakamayaman ng mga bansa at mga iniidolo natin pagdating sa progress, yaman, advancement, equality, at quality of life, sila mismo merong mandatory training para sa mga citizen nila. Tayo pa kaya na developing pa lang at magaling lang sa reklamo? Sabi naman ni Franz Kamakan, love of country should start from preschool. Imagine mo preschool. Children should be taught more on Philippine history, but make it more interactive so that it's not boring. Field trips should be more on historical places, not in malls. We can start now so we can expect law-abiding citizens in the next generations. We can copy how Japan is doing in instilling discipline and love of country to their children. So, ang sinasabi yata nito ni France ay, kumbaga, hindi lang yung ROTC ang sagot dyan if you want to instill patriotism, but there are other means. No? Simula pa lang, no? Yun nga, actually, nawawala. Mga bata ngayon, pag nakikita natin, ganun, kung di gumaganon, diba? Ganun ang ganun. What's your take on the ROTC issue?
Most students, takot po talaga. They are scared that they will be sent to battle, for example. And another is, yung nakalagay sa bill na, House bill na, it will be required for them para makagraduate sila. So, if it is required, are we not inscribing fear to the people, to the students, and it may result to blind obedience to authority? Na pwede rin po tayo magkaroon ng false sense of nationalism and patriotism.
So, from one youth to another youth, Yusek Ronald, how do you react to that?
It's not a blind obedience. It's orderliness. It's uniting your people, training your people for one goal. For example, another country attacks us, and for example, we have an army of 100, but those 100 wants to take 100 directions, we will lose. And kailangan natin talaga yung ROTC na yan dahil kailangan ng training ng ating mga tao. One example is Israel. Why is it that terrorist organizations are not able to penetrate Israel?
Especially during the
Because
Six-Day War, no?
all girls and all boys there are trained to defend themselves, their families, their country. So, for ISIS units to enter a barangay, a village in Israel, you must fight with the entire village people. Because all of them are trained soldiers. All of them are willing to defend their barangay, their country. Here in our country, we have a 107 million population, and we want the 150,000 soldiers and the 150,000 policemen to be the only ones defending us.
Grabe, no?
To be the only ones helping us during times of disaster. Hindi kaya yun.
Tama.
Hindi realistic yun. Hindi kaya yun.
Si General, tama. Good thing you raised that. Kasi, tama we are more than 100 million. Yung number ng AFP natin, hindi naman halos tumaas.
Hindi naman kasing
So, di ba, ano yun? Parang yung discrepancy, sir. So, that's where the ROTC comes in.
Yes, and that's also what is prescribed in the Constitution. The Constitution specifically prescribes that the AFP shall be composed of a citizen armed force.
Okay.
Okay, and that it may require its citizens to render personal, military, or civil service. Okay, so it's really mandatory. It's incumbent on every citizen to render service to his country. And going back to why I think the ROTC is really important. You know, the environment that you grow up influences the kind of person you become in the future. Okay, especially these young people. So if we, the older generations who are now, let's say, so to say, at the helms of this country, okay, do not assert our right, our responsibility to mold these younger generations. What would happen to these younger generations where they will be the ones who will now take over the leadership of this country? So as I said, sometimes we forget the fact that all these difficulties in training, all these hardships that you are afraid in training, they actually strengthen you. Every adversity, every trial that you go through, even physical or emotional or even or mental trials, okay, they strengthen you. They mold your character. They build your character. And that's the essence of military training.
All right. Do you agree with what General Rodil is saying? I mean,
Yes, but
would you like to join the ROTC now kahit na nag-STP ka na?
But what do you think went wrong before that, and how can we prevent it?
I think what really went wrong before was, of course, the abuse. Okay, probably there were people probably before who sought it as like an instrument of power. Okay, power tripping lang siguro yung mga tao nung araw. Okay.
That's right. I'm very aware of the I'm very familiar with the case yung
the Mark
yung
Chua
Chua
case.
case kasi nga sinundan ko talaga yan, sir. Dahil the father, as I said earlier, was my friend, no? Si Wilson Chua. And nagulat kami noon. I was still covering the defense beat noon. I was the president of the Defense Press Corps. Biglang nawala. Ginawang optional. And that time I was really thinking, no, hindi yata tama ito. Nawala eh. I mean, yun nga, I would agree with what you're saying. Ano to eh, yung discipline eh. Unang-unang in-instill, discipline talaga.
Mark Wilson Chua, okay, the cadet, the UC cadet, was an advocate of the ROTC.
Yes.
He was not opposed to the ROTC. He was exposing the abuses in the ROTC program at that time.
He even wrote an anonymous letter to the SND that time.
And even his father in many fora attested to that fact, that he wasn't against the ROTC.
That's right. That's true.
ROTC, and probably, God bless his soul, no? He was sad that he was probably sad that the ROTC became optional.
That's right. That's right.
Because of
Yeah,
that.
I heard it from him also because we were talking the time when he was still alive. So anyway, so medyo kapos talaga tayo doon sa oras, ano? But I'm sure a lot of our followers, yung mga kababayan natin here and abroad, they have learned a lot from our brief discussion about the issue on ROTC. So there you have it, folks. Straight from the shoulder and right on the money. So before we go, we'd like to ask our guests, no, to say their final words to our viewers. Let's start with Chairman Ronald.
Sabi nga ng ating pambansang bayani, ang kabataan ang pag-asa ng bayan. And sa tingin ko, kulang yon. Sa tingin ko, hindi binabase ng ating pambansang bayani yun sa numero ng kabataan. Kasi pwede naman tayo gumawa ng madaming bata, pwede tayo magkaroon ng population boom. Sa ating bansa, magkaroon ka ng 200 milyong kabataan, pero kung walang disiplina yung mga kabataan, walang focus, walang balak na maganda, na something great for themselves and for our country, wala rin yung tatambay lang yung mga yan. So ang pag-asa ng ating bayan ay mga kabataang disiplinado, kabataang gusto baguhin ang ating bansa. Itong ROTC ay nakakatulong sa path na yon dahil you are trying to train an entire generation of young citizens towards nation building, towards disaster response, towards preparedness. And yan ang kailangan natin para mabago ang ating bansa. Ginagawa ito sa malalakas nating neighbors. Kailangan na natin gawin ito dito sa ating bansa.
General, your message po sa ating mga kababayan.
The ROTC has always been a very good program, even from the time that military drill was instituted in the University of the Philippines. And it is very important not only for national defense preparedness, but in building good citizens, building character, building discipline, building that go-to attitude, that attitude of not quitting, that attitude of doing something good about every negative situation. And that's what the ROTC is trying to build in you.
And Dan, your message to your fellow millennials.
I believe as a youth, the biggest mistake we can do is to stop trying. And the biggest fear we can have is the fear of change. As a youth, we should never stop asking questions. Lalo na kung tungkol na sa atin, kung tungkol na sa society natin. And there's nothing wrong with that. Lalo na kung mas makakapagpabuti pa sa Philippines, di ba? Sa society.
Sa ating bansa. No. So, pro ka talaga.
Uh,
Anyway, thank you, Brigadier General Rolando Rodil and National Youth Commission Chairman Ronald Gian Cardema and Dan Eris Estrella, no, from RTU. We appreciate your being here on the show. Tune in again next week as we discuss another controversial issue. For your comments, suggestions, and questions, visit our Facebook page and the PNA website. You may be for or against. You may agree or disagree. In the end, we're all Filipinos working towards the same goals. Will you choose what's right? Or will you stay on your side of the truth? Once again, this is Philippine News Agency Supervising Undersecretary Joel Siego. Thank you and see you on the next episode of Pros and Cons.